You also could be in a situation where you bought an annuity several years ago and the darn thing just hasn't performed. Maybe you were sold on, a specific index that was supposed to be the best thing since sliced bread. Maybe you were sold on a bonus and that's why you bought the product initially. But either way, you may be in a situation where you've gone a few years into this contract and you haven't experienced any growth whatsoever. And there are ways to improve that situation. And there are ways that we can get you into better contracts with better index crediting strategies, including higher participation rates, higher caps that can improve your overall situation to help you meet those financial objectives that you set out to meet. One of the things that we look at right now is some analysis that was conducted by Moody's, and the performance of these fixed indexed annuities today is light years ahead of annuities that were sold back in 2013, 2017, and even 2020, and just a few years ago. The innovation in this space with the crediting strategies and the higher participation and or caps has definitely been a game changer, and these products have only gotten better. So it's like, if you kind of use the analogy of like, I always use cars, right? So if you look at a Ford F-150, I'm a truck guy, so like I like Fords. I like them all, but Fords right now is what comes to mind. So if you look at the F-150 line, if you compare a 2015 model to a 2025 model, the 2025 model is like from an entire new generation. It's like from the future when you compare just 10 years ago with that truck included in terms of features and benefits. So with annuities, it's no different. You're going to get significantly higher rates. You're going to get significantly better index crediting options. And you're going to get a lot of other features and benefits that may have not even been a thought in annuities 5 or 10 years ago. So we'll be covering some of those additional benefits here later in the episode.
Yeah, that's a great point. And we're across the board, we're finding that those features oftentimes add value at no cost, right? So we've talked about some things, whether that's long-term care. We've talked about the ability to withdraw some funds in the life, event of a crazy life event that comes up. Not in every case, but that's also part of the process that we're taking and being methodical, taking our time and making sure that we're finding that right fit for somebody and finding out if exchanging that older policy is the right fit for them.
Yeah, so some of the studies that we've looked at recently, there was a analysis conducted by Moody's, which I mentioned a moment ago, but the current products today on the today's marketplace offer generally 20 to 40% higher participation rates, which translates to higher growth opportunity compared to older annuities. There's also those new index strategies, some of them better than others, but that's where you need to really look at them and see which ones are actually performing and which ones aren't, so you can do a good comparative analysis. There's even AI driven index strategies now that are just alluding to better volatility control, which therefore smooths out the return potential to just offer smarter growth opportunity in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. And some of those options, like those, the AI driven or the volatility controlled, you know, I speak in sports terms maybe too frequently, but when we look at the index performance, sometimes I liken that to your single hitter, your leadoff batter that's going to hit singles. Maybe it's not going to be the huge volatility that we might find in the S&P, but it will be more consistent in that overall return.
Yeah, and one of the things that we're passionate about is explaining that not all index strategies are equal. I still believe that you need to work with experts that can help you decipher the good index strategies versus the bad ones. And so in previous episodes, we've talked about um, the benefits of working with someone that has the tools to do that comparative analysis and kind of put these things side by side so that you can make a good decision. Actually, working with a client recently, this week actually, and I think we've had 4 meetings now. And initially, he came to us because he was pitched this annuity in particular that um, kind of speaks to, like, all of their marketing and their brochure speaks to the opportunity for increasing income out into the future. And it's all performance driven by the indexes. So, in other words, if the indexes perform good and outperform the minimum income guarantee, then that product will step up the income benefits so that the person has increasing income potential. Uh, so it can kind of act as like an inflation hedge. And he's loves this idea, but it's one that is commonly pitched out in the marketplace. It's one that we are very fond of in terms of being able to kind of deplore the marketing fluff and say, look, like, this is what it says, but the reality or the probability of that ever actually happening is slim to none. And we do that by the index analysis and the comparisons. And so when after exposing these index strategies and showing this gentleman that they don't actually perform the way that they illustrate in those back tests, it really was eye-opening to him, and he kind of felt duped by the advisor that was showing him this product. And I don't blame him. I would feel the same way. But that's where it comes down to working with an expert that truly has your best interest at heart. And we're going to back up what we claim with factual data that you can understand, so that you can ultimately avoid making a grave mistake. And if you do decide to purchase an annuity, the one that you're buying, wholeheartedly that it was the right one for your specific circumstance, because you got the education and the comparative analysis to make that confident decision to buy.